I got a crazy teacher, he wears.
Welcome back to the Duarte Show. I'm your host, Duarte. Welcome to the Duarte Show. This is the No BS podcast, calling out all the BS that is destroying Waterbury and Connecticut. This episode is called The Doom Loop of of Ned Lamont. My bad. It is called The Doom Loop of Ned. Governor Ned Lamont loves to brag about the balanced budgets, surpluses, and how he saved in Connecticut. But the truth is simple. We are trapped in a vicious doom loop under his watch. High taxes, massive spending, low growth, and even higher taxes to cover the mess. While Ned Lamont flies around panting himself on the backs of families in Waterbury and across Connecticut. Rather getting crushed, he is flying around Connecticut trying to gain a third term. While families are being crushed by insane property taxes, stagnant wages, falling public services, and the economy that refuses to move forward. Today, in this episode, I am not holding back. We are exposing the people in charge, and especially we're going to expose how Ned Lamont failed leadership and created the doom loop. And that's why Connecticut is paying the prices we're paying. And that's why we are getting ripped off. Connecticut cannot be a state of, we fixed it in 4 years. Ned Lamont ruined us in his second term. I personally believe it was a personal vendetta from him. He never meant to win the election against Bob Stefanowski again. He only won because of the work of the working families who liked his COVID policies. He won because of COVID. If it wasn't for COVID, he would have never won. Today's Youth Council Revolution episode, we're going to dive more deep into it. But if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Spotify to keep up with the Youth Council Revolution. The Duarte Show is the home of the Council Revolution. So I hope to see you there. Enjoy the episode. Ned Lamont's doom loop works like this. Tax the hell out of the people and businesses. Spend money like there's no tomorrow on unions, nonprofits, and pet projects. Watch stagnant growth because nobody wants to invest in our state. Then raise taxes again, or kick the can with gimmicks and repeat. That is Ned Lamont's doom loop. Look at the numbers. Connecticut is still one of the highest tax burdens in the country, with the fourth place rankings in multiple rankings. Electricity rates and energy rates are going up and is still in the highest in our country, by the way. We are one of the most expensive states to live in. Businesses rank us near bottom for having competitors. People with options are leaving. This is not a success story. He's managing our decline. Ned Lamont brags about balanced budgets and a big old rainy day fund. But in 2026, the person who runs our money, the comptroller, is already warning about his first deflect of his administration. Healthcare is falling short in our state. Rising legal claims and pensions are still unfunded by tens of billions. State employees' costs keep climbing while private sector families in Waterbury in my city and across Connecticut are struggling to keep up. But what is his big old idea? What is Ned Lamont's plan if everything backfires? Well, I'll tell you here. His big plan for relief is a one time, by the way, a one time 200 or 400 rebate right before the elections. That is not tax reform. That is trying to buy a vote. Before the elections are like asking people, hey, vote for me. I'm the right candidate. In the State of the State address, while structural problems are still getting worse, he spent more time attacking the federal government. What a surprise. Instead of fixing the mess in Connecticut, prioritizing things completely backwards. This is the same failure of the big government playbook Liz Truss had warned us about nationally in the UK, with the high taxes and spending creating low growth, which creates pressure for even more taxes and spending. Ned Lamont is the perfect example of that. The loop that never ends, and unless a candidate who's running for governor breaks that loop. But let's take it home more quickly. Let's talk about my city. Here in Waterbury, the doom loop of Ned Lamont hits us the hardest. Property taxes are through the roof. Renovations for buildings are going down, while public services don't improve. Businesses face higher costs and slow permitting. Schools need real accountability, not just more state handouts or funneled through the same broken system. Crime, infrastructure, and the development are all suffering as well because Hartford burdens are hurting our city like no other. They're not giving us room. They're just putting more safety guards and guardrails and telling us what to do. Young families can't afford to stay. Talent leaves, and the cycle continues in Lamont's policies. For Waterbury, to attract the investment, create jobs, or build wealth, we are stacking and we're stuck paying Hartford's failure while they lecture us about inequality and more spending. They lecture us about the federal government, saying the president is bad. I do not respect the man who's in office. Never did. But the one thing is, it's clear, and this is what I learned. I still have to respect the office of the President of the United States. That is the person in charge of our country. I may not like him. You may not like him. Or you may like him. I will respect whoever's in office because I respect the office of the United States. I learned that by a great friend recently on last Saturday. Let's talk about reform, the vision and action, build energy. Let's build some energy in this podcast. This is not exactly why we're building a Reform Waterbury movement. If you haven't known about that, let me talk about that real quickly. Reform Waterbury is a movement in our city to stop the corruption, to help families. And in 2027, I'll be the first candidate running for mayor. I'll be running as a write-in candidate, but I will be under the Reform Party. I'm running to make sure Waterbury families are able to get by. My first plan in office is to call a state of emergency on crime. Then, freezing property taxes. That are the main two things I want to do. Fix the crime rate in Waterbury, freeze the property taxes, and at the same time, ensuring more businesses are able to come here, work here, and bloom. Waterbury is not a perfect city. I can admit that. But one thing that is perfect, we can have a business intervention if we just put our minds to it. Reform Waterbury is looking for candidates to run for any office here in Waterbury. We already did a poll. Reform Waterbury did a poll recently. And 80% of Waterbury residents say Waterbury is heading in the wrong direction, while 12% say it's heading to the right direction. And only 1% said maybe. It's about change. Waterbury needs change. And I'll get more into Reform Waterbury in the next episode. Me talking about what is Reform Waterbury and how can you join the movement to fix our city. This is not exactly why we're rebuilding Reform Waterbury movement. We are rejecting the doom loop. Reform means cutting the race first, reducing taxes or freezing taxes, reducing the tax burden on families and small businesses, speeding up the permitting process for real developments that can happen here in my city, holding schools and city halls accountable for actual results and no more excuses. That is the plan for Reform Waterbury. We need to supply aid, supply side, like apply thinking to things, sorry, and remove barriers and reward work and investment. Stop pretending that throwing more government money at problems will fix anything. Either I run as a Republican with a reform message or push Reform Waterbury to the finish line. The goal is the same: to break the one party grip that has Waterbury the way it is, and to have Waterbury that has been stuck for decades. Liz Truss was right about one thing: the disease of stagnation is right about the disease of stagnation. Ned Lamont proves that the establishment is a curse more than a cure. It's a poison. If you're sick of the doom loop of Ned Lamont or over Waterbury, screwing over Waterbury and cities across our state, it is time to fight back. Join the Reform Waterbury movement. We are organizing for 2027, targeting Board of Aldermen seats, demanding real change from the ground up. Door knock with us. Spend time in this episode. Spread this episode and to pressure Hartford by reforming Waterbury first. What part of Ned Lamont's doom loop is pissing you off the most? Drop it in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe and share. And let's break the cycle for once and for all. This is the Duarte Show, the home of the Youth Council Revolution. It is time for no excuses in our state. It is time for us to fight back. Our state is too valuable to lose, and it's time for someone to fix it. This is the second part of the episode. Let's continue in the next segment. The next segment is called The Cracks Are Showing, the $6 billion Lie, and the October Bribe. Very catchy, I know, thank you. Listen, Ned Lamont's team is already spinning its head. They say the project $6 million deficit for the fiscal year of 2026 is tiny, just 0.025% of the budget. Don't worry about it. It's bullshit crap. It's the first deficit of his entire administration. After 4 years of bragging about the surpluses after surpluses and stacking the rainy day fund, and the comptroller, Sheen Scalen, I hope I'm saying his name correct, is just dropped the truth. Corporate taxes and revenue is tanking. Income tax refunds are higher than expected. And there is 39 million shortfalls in the entire healthcare account alone. The Office of Fiscal Analysis sees nearly $3 million in the hole. Even Ned Lamont's own numbers are cracking. And it's big response for all this happening, a $5 million one-time tax rebate. $200 per person, $400 for couples. This checks is supposedly dropping in late October 2026, days before the election, which I find very, very weird. Why give a tax rebate when you are basically running for governor? It's not the relief. It's a straight up bribe. Taking $500 million of surpluses to mail you a check right before you vote? While the structural problems in our state keep rising, like sky high taxes, the fourth highest electricity rate, and one of the worst long-term growth records in the country, stay the exact same. Connecticut Republicans are calling it what it is, an election year gimmick. They are right. Real reform would be permanent tax cuts and actually lowering the tax burden year after year, not pathetic vote buying stunt while pensions bomb and keep ticking. Connecticut continues to carry tens of billions of unfunded pension and retiree health liabilities, over $33 billion in person alone. The total long term pushing $70 to $100 billion, depending on how you count it. Ned Lamont talks about progress because the investment return helps a little, but the whole is massive. The state employee costs keep rising fast, while families in Waterbury and across the state see their wages stagnate and their bills continue to climb. The doom loop that is Ned Lamont is in action. Spend more on insiders and unions, watch revenue get versatile and paper it apart over and over, one-time hit tricks. Act shocked when the next crack appears. Connecticut ranked in the 12th GDP for 2025. Okay, fine. For 1 year, but long-term economic performance is still near the bottom. 48th for economic uprise. GDP growth is the performance of businesses and people who keep voting with their feet. And who pays the real price? Not the insiders in Hartford, not the government or the governor with the flying high on his press release. It's on you, Connecticut. Zoom into cities. It gets even uglier. Property taxes are already getting a nightmare. Revolutions, reservations have just jacked up for hospitals. And even more mill rate tweaks. Residential bills keep rising while services don't improve. Lamont state policies make it worse. High overall tax burden, expensive energy, slow growth that starves local businesses for customers and opportunities. We got high crime in our streets, schools that need real results instead of more money thrown at them. At the same time, problems with the young people. Young people are committing more crime in our state. For example, Waterbury has the highest juvenile rate of crimes. Recently, jumpings have increased in my city. But let's build hope, okay? Let's build a success train. That's so we have some technical difficulties. That is why we're building Reform Waterbury, to reject the endless loop. We're going to cut the race first, lower the real burdens on working families and small businesses, lash the red tapes and kills developments, and demand actual accountability instead of spending more and spin. Supply sign Reform Waterbury locally, remove barriers, reward investment, and stop pretending the bigger government fixes the problems, whether it's on the Republican line or the Democratic line. I will either run as for mayor on the Republican line or the Democratic line, or just run as a reform candidate, which that is the original plan. We're breaking the one-party grip. As Liz Truss called the exact stagnant disease nationally, Ned Lamont is proving why the old playbook fails, and Connecticut deserves better. Moving on to the next segment of this episode, we will talk about more. Welcome to the final segment of the podcast. And the final segment is called Break the Loop, Time for Reform. The bottom line is, the doom loop of Ned Lamont is real. It is not the same abstract theory from Harvard. It is the reason why your property taxes keep going up, even when they claim the state is strong. It is the same reason why young people are leaving. Small businesses inherit the burden, and neighborhoods feel stuck while Ned Lamont mails out checks perfectly for November 31st, 2026, the day before you vote. He is the third, and then whether he gets a third term is up to us. $200 for a single person, and $400 for a couple. A $500 million pulled from the volatile revenue and handed out one-time gimmick. Well, retiree care, healthcare sits with a short, $39 million, while legal claims are higher than expected, and while the first tiny deficit of his administration is already showing up in the books. We cannot spin it all they want. It's tiny. We have tiny reserves. We can cover it. Cover it 1,000 times over. But the real families in Connecticut don't get a rainy day fund. They get higher bills every time they get a bill in the mail, and they see their prices raised from last week. Lamont, Connecticut is a perfect example of what Liz Truss warned about: high taxes, heavy spending, and protect insiders. Then shocked when GDP stays the same for the next 4 years. Connecticut ranks near the bottom for economic performance over time. The people and the capital keep leaving. Connecticut feels a bit of it. Enough is enough of the Ned Lamont doom loop. That's why we are building a movement of the youth council revolution. We want Connecticut to continue to grow, and we want our state to succeed. But it's a matter of time of just taking people out of office that need to go. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Before I go, I just want to talk about a few things. Our governor has put us in a loop that will never get us out if he's elected again. He's promised more rebates if he wins. Our governor has failed us before, and we must not just buy into his same old, tired old playbook. Ned Lamont is such a liar. He will never, ever pay what we're paying. And it's time for someone to do something about it. That's why I have the paper right here. May 15th and 16th, we'll find the verdict of who is potentially the Republican nominee. And then in August, we find out who the people decide the nominee for the Republican Party wants to be. Ned Lamont is having a challenger, Josh Elliott. Look at his policies. He's way better than Ned Lamont, in my own opinion. You cannot blame the federal government for everything, because people are going to start realizing you've been in power for longer than the federal government has. If you're talking about Trump left office during 2022. I was not in office in 2022. Really makes you think, does Ned Lamont love Trump secretly? Or is it just a one-sided love? A one-sided love that I can't explain. But I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Duarte Show. I really did. And if you're really fired up, I want you to drop a like and comment your opinion on this episode. I want to hear feedback from the community. I want to hear what you have been going through under Ned Lamont. And if you are ready to get him out of office, join the Youth Council Revolution. We are here for you, and we're ready to fight back. Thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe to stay tuned for the next episode of of the Youth Council Revolution. I'm your host, Duarte. This is the Youth Council Revolution. I'll see you soon.